Well, the holiday continues here on this 3rd of July. Fans coming into beautiful Coors Field. It is unseasonably warm out here. This is where the Reds will play for the next 4 days. Reds and Rockies here on Fox Sports Ohio. And hi and a pleasant good evening and welcome once again to Reds Baseball. Along with Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I am Jim Kelch. Well, the Reds start a 4-game series here, Chris, and the loss yesterday notwithstanding, got to feel pretty good about themselves after a 4-2 homestand.
Well, they play very well at home, very much like the Colorado Rockies. It seems like they're a different ball club when they get on the road, but they're being carried by some guys that are really swinging the bat well. Joey Votto, Player of the Week, 500 average, 3 home runs. Duvall on the homestand hit 3 home runs. He's actually having a better year this year than his all-star year last year. Scott Feldman carrying the load from the starting pitching standpoint, and the bullpen has been very good as well.
Well, the Reds, after the 4-2 homestand, will head on out to the road here. This is a 7-game trip that leads them into the All-Star break against the 2 teams that right now hold down the wild card spots in the National League.
Well, they're teams that can put some runs up on the board, I can tell you that, especially in their respective home ballparks. Colorado, you know it's always been a hitter's paradise here. They've had a rough time lately, the Rockies have, but they come back home and they think that they're going to get back into groove of things. They're getting a couple of guys back off the disabled list. Of course, Arizona's playing great baseball as well. Both of these teams are in contention, so they are playing to win these ball games, not develop players.
3rd start now for Luis Castillo. He'll be making one against the Colorado Ball Club and making one in this ballpark for the first time.
Well, he's had some really tough tests along the way. First the Nationals, then the Milwaukee Brewers. Really good hitting teams. Well, you know, he's really got his work cut out for him tonight because the Rockies at home at Coors Field, they really swing the bats. A typical swagger as they go up to the plate. But if his changeup is working the way it has been, he'll be just fine.
Now, he'll face a Colorado team that year in, year out always puts up the very big numbers at home, not as good on the road, and this year no exception.
Well, Don Baylor once said when he was a manager here that here at Coors Field you're in scoring position when you're in the on-deck circle. And this Colorado Rocky team feels that way. They've got a deep lineup. They're getting exploits out of Mark Reynolds that they never, ever thought they'd get this year. Plus, he's got a pretty good surrounding cast. Guys like Blackman and Nolan Arenado having really great years. This is a very tough lineup right now.
Well, we'll see how it goes tonight. First of a 4-game series, the Reds and the Rockies from Denver, Colorado. We'll take a break. When we come back, Jim Day talks about going to Miami. The Reds indeed have a couple of all-stars headed to the mid-season classic. We're ready to go. 7 games left before the all-star break for the Redlegs. Peraza against Hoffman. First pitch a strike, and this game is underway. Peraza playing shortstop with Zach Cozart sitting out today, but he expects to be in the lineup both tomorrow and on Wednesday night. Cozart played yesterday, went 1 for 4, and he has a schedule, as you've heard from Brian Price, laid out for him between now and the break. Towards center field, Blackman coming on. He's not going to get it, and that ball drops for a base hit. Good effort there by DJ LeMahieu, but Peraza floats it right in between the second baseman and the center fielder. Reds have the leadoff man on.
This may be the perfect place for Jose Peraza to play because outfielders have to play deep because the ball does carry. There's so much green between the infield and where the outfielders play. And how many times have we seen Jose Peraza break a bat, end of the bat, in on the thumbs, ends up with a base hit? I mean, it is, at first I thought it was luck. Now I'm thinking that it's part of his game.
You mentioned so much green. How much green is there here at this ballpark? There's more acreage here at Coors Field than there is in any other big league park. 2.66 acres of ground here at this ballpark. How does that compare to Great American? 2.41. The biggest acreage-wise ballpark in the big leagues right here.
Yeah, this is a doubles ballpark for a lot of reasons. Number one, you know, you can hit them down the line, you can hit them in the gaps, and then you can hit them shallow and beat the guy to second base just because the outfielder can't get through the ball.
Scooter Gennett bats now with a leadoff man aboard. Scooter checks in at .302 with a dozen home runs. 42 runs batted in. Had a home run during the recent homestand. He's hit safely in 9 of his last 10 games. Peraza with the lead over there at first. Second on this Reds team in steals with 15, and he also comes in tied for 5th in the league with his 15 stolen bases.
Certainly looks like the Rockies are trying to stay away from the power of Scooter Gennett. Down and away, just pounding the low outside part of the strike zone.
That's what he's done his last 10 games. Very impressive average-wise. Diving first baseman Reynolds cannot come up with that ball, and that's going to send Peraza to third. And a single to center, now a single to right, and the Reds have them at the corners with nobody out here in the first.
Peraza running on the pitch right here, so Reynolds pops off the bag but still is unable to get to that ball that rifled right by him. So could not begin to unfold any better for the Reds right here. Bloop single, ground ball single, and now you got Joey Votto hitting the ball as well as anybody on this ball club steps up to the plate.
Well, in fact, Votto today was named the National League Player of the Week for the good work that he turned in this past week. .524 average with 11 hits and 21 at bats with 3 homers and 6 RBIs. First time he had won the award in over 4 years.
Can't really be an easy time for a hitter to see the ball right now. I mean, the hitter's in the shadows, the pitcher's in the sunlight. The sun is still high enough to give you pretty good light here, but still, when the clouds disappear, it presents a lot of contrast.
Votto starts the game now 6th in the league in hitting with that .317 average. 23 homers, 2nd in the league. His 59 runs batted in, tied for 7th. Toward left field, playable for Tapia. He'll backpedal and make the catch. That'll get the first run of this game home, as touching the plate is Peraza. Votto with RBI number 60. And the Reds take a 1-0 lead, 3 batters in.
Nice to be able to get that run in. Votto almost a sure thing right there. Knew he was going to get something probably hard from Hoffman, and takes it the other way for an easy fly ball. The one thing, though, you learned on that play is that their left fielder, Ramel Tapia, has got a pretty good arm. He threw that ball all the way from the warning track right into second base on a fly.
So here's Duvall now with a runner at first and 1 man out. Another guy that's been swinging a pretty good bat. Duvall had 8 hits, 22 at bats during the recent homestand, and he's up to .284 with 19 long ones and 58 runs batted in. And there are many who say, and it's true, really, he's had a better first half this year than he did last year when he was an all-star.
Yeah, the problem, though, is from an all-star standpoint is that there's other players on the team that are having good years. When he went last year in the first half, remember how Joey Votto struggled mightily the first few months of the year, took him out of contention. There was no Zach Cozart playing the way he did last year. So, the obvious all-star on the ball club was Duvall. Right now, he's just an easy guy to overlook.
Duvall right now at .284. His on-base percentage is .330. Last year at the break, he was hitting .249 with an on-base of .288. Now, he did have 23 homers, 61 RBIs last year at the break, and he'll get close to those this year. I don't know that you'll find anybody who will argue to say he has not had a better first half this year than last year. Way up in the air to shallow right. Carlos Gonzalez just activated from the disabled list today for the Rockies. Will make that catch for out number 2. Take a look at their entire defensive setup behind Jeff Hoffman, brought to you by your Ford dealers. Tapia out in left field. Blackman, an all-star in center. Gonzalez back in the lineup tonight, is in right. Nolan Arenado, another All-Stars at third. Story at short. LeMahieu, still a third All-Star at second base. Reynolds at first, with Walters and Hoffman making up the Rockies' battery. Blackmon and Arenado will be starters in this year's All-Star game, along with Red shortstop Zach Kozar. So 3 starters in this game on these two teams. There's a ball that went off the foot, it looked like, of Suarez. He limped out of the box. The play was made by Arenado to retire this side. So to the mound, the right-hander, the youngster, the rookie, Luis Castillo, third start of his career. First-year manager of this Colorado club is Bud Black, longtime Padre skipper. Has this team right now at 48-36 heading into tonight's game. This is 10th year as a big league manager, and here's the lineup that he presents tonight. Brought to you by Menards. 3 All-Stars at the top: Blackmon, LeMahieu, and Arenado. Reynolds, Gonzalez, and Tapia in the middle. Then is Trevor Story, Tony Walters, and Jeff Hoffman. On the mound for the Reds, 24-year-old right-hander Luis Castillo.
Well, he won't be 25 until December, although when he signed originally, Castillo was a young man that was kind of old for his age, if you want to call it that. 19 years old is when he originally signed a pro contract. That was with the San Francisco Giants, but they don't care how old he is here in Cincinnati. Just keep throwing the ball the way he has his first couple of starts. Outstanding debut against the Washington Nationals, even better last time against the Brewers.
Well, he gets a tough leadoff man here in Charlie Blackmon. He leads the National League in hitting average at home. He's hitting .390 here at Coors. Tied for the league leading hits with 106. And he immediately gets ahead now. 3 balls and no strike.
I just really hope that Castillo hasn't heard anything about Coors Field, because sometimes you can psych yourself out ahead of time by people calling you up saying, oh, you have a ball flies there. There's always offensive games. And sometimes you start picking away at the corners more than you should, and next thing you know, you start walking people, which is the one thing you cannot do here in Colorado and get away with it.
Castillo has walked an abnormally large number for him. He walked only 13 in 80 innings at AA. He's walked 8 in his 10 2/3 innings so far in his 2 big league starts.
Well, when the Rockies came through Cincinnati and really showed the Reds something there in their home turf, it was the numbers 1, 2, and 3 hitters in the lineup that were really getting it done. Overall, they batted nearly .380. They had 9 runs batted in those 3 games.
And they beat the Reds 2 out of 3.
And that would be Blackmon, LeMahieu, and Nolan Arenado. Same top 3 in the lineup tonight.
There's LeMahieu waiting on deck. And he came back to get him from 3-0. That was a breaking ball that broke down and into the left-handed hitter. Good start for Castillo.
You know, I think the thing to watch tonight is Tucker Barnhart behind the plate. I don't see Castillo shaking off a lot of his signs. Barnhart's going to run this ball game, and he has a feel for what Castillo can throw on a certain pitch. And I think he really tricked up Blackmon that time by throwing a breaking pitch on a full count.
So now it's DJ LeMahieu, the second baseman. In case you're wondering, by the way, Castillo's first start was Devin Mesoraco. His last start was Barnhart, and it's Barnhart again here today behind the plate. LeMahieu, his second All-Star appearance for him this year. He's hitting .303 with 3 home runs. He was an All-Star back in 15, 2 years ago, and will be one of the 4 Rockies representatives at the All-Star game this year. See Blackmon at the top. We mentioned his name. Look at Arenado there, and LeMahieu. These are the hit leaders in the National League. Both of those two closing in on 100. There's hit number 99 of the year for LeMahieu. Slicing single into right. Take a look at the Reds' defensive alignment. Behind Luis Castillo, brought to you by your Ford dealers. They line up with Duvall in left. Schebler getting the start in center. Billy Hamilton out of the lineup today with a little soreness in his lower back. Kivlahan gets the start in right. Suarez, Peraza, Jeanette, Votto third to first. Castillo and Barnhart make up the Reds' battery tonight.
Kind of a shame about Hamilton not being here, because if there was ever a ballpark you wanted the speediest of all center fielders, it would be Coors Field.
Here's Nolan Arenado. Boy, this guy has put up some monster years the last couple of years for Colorado. Nolan Arenado, 40+ home runs, over 100 RBIs in each of those years. This year he's hit 15, driven in 62. Very good, but not on the pace he has set the last couple of years. He's led the National League in homers and RBIs each of the last 2 seasons. Very impressive. To top it all off, he is by far the best defensive third baseman in the league, having garnered 4 consecutive Gold Gloves. He'll start at third base this year for the National League Stars.
Well, I'll tell you what, Castillo may be 3-0 to Arenado, but he has not missed by much. It's not like this kid is throwing the ball all over the place. He's missed twice now, down and away. I mean, that's not wildness. That's just a little tick off from having really good command.
Todd Tischner is the home plate umpire. Castillo will need to adjust to what he deems the strike zone. 3-1. Castillo, 24, from the Dominican, 6'2", 190-pounder. Came up from Double-A Pensacola to make that first big league start on the 23rd of June against Washington, and he walks Arenado. 2 of the first 3 have reached here in the Rockies' first. Tucker Barnhart taking a quick trip to the mound to talk to Castillo. See those special 4th of July holiday uniforms that the teams are wearing. Reds had the home versions on the last 2 days at Great American against the Cubs. They wear the road version today and tomorrow. Here now is the very dangerous Mark Reynolds. Hitting .286 with 19 home runs. Starts him with a nice breaking ball. Reynolds 6th in the league in runs batted in with 61. His Rockies team coming off a 1-8 road trip. Their only win coming in the middle game of the recently completed 3-game series against Arizona. They went to LA, were swept 3, to San Francisco, were swept 3. Lost 2 out of 3 to the D-backs. So a 1-8 road trip brings them home 12 games over. They were at one point 21 games above 500. Castillo will make this play. Runners move up. That's the second out of the inning. LeMahieu over at third, and Arenado out at second base for Carlos Gonzalez. He gets a nice hand just being activated from the disabled list. He last played on the 22nd of June. He had right shoulder soreness. His numbers way down from what they normally are. This guy's a 3-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove winner. He's averaged over the course of his career 30 home runs and just shy of 100 RBIs over the course of a 10-year career, but this year down a little bit. 6 homers, 20 runs batted in. And that is atypical also. 129. Rizip with 2 out. Votto, he will take it himself and beat Cargo to the bag. And Castillo, a nice recovery, puts a 0 up in the bottom of the first. Good point, because it is very hot here, abnormally warm. Usually when the teams come out this way, they enjoy the relief from the humidity of the Midwest. And boy, the temperature of those is going to be in the 90s all 4 days the Reds are here.
Just the way we like it.
Schebler to lead it off, then Kivlahan, then Barnhart here in the second. Schebler at 20 home runs, he's driven in 40. Did not drive in a run during the recent 6-game homestand. Gets this one into center. Blackman going black. Backman on the warning track, and Blackman will haul it in.
Well, that sounded great coming off the bat. Schebler thought that ball probably was going to carry a little bit more than it actually did.
Scott gives a pretty good ride, but one of the best center fielders in the game. Charlie Blackman ran it down. So Schebler the first out here in the second. Batter will be Patrick Kivlahan. Kivlahan getting the start here tonight in right, with Schebler moving to center. Billy Hamilton, we mentioned, out of the lineup. Another chance for Blackman. This one is in his tracks as he moves to his right. Brian Price did say that he hopes that Hamilton would be available to him in some capacity during tonight's game. He certainly did not rule out the possibility of Hamilton playing tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday here. But he did get lifted for a pinch hitter in the 8th inning yesterday by Kivlahan in that game against the Cubs. Barnhart with 2 out.
There's the curveball that is really the signature pitch for Jeff Hoffman. Of course, the fastball's not so bad either. That's what got him to be a #1 draft pick by the Blue Jays. But the curveball, you know, the criticism out here in Colorado is that the air is so thin and dry that it's very difficult to get the rotation on it. So that remains his best pitch.
You buy into that?
Oh yeah, I sure do. What you really find out as a pitcher here is you have to work harder on every one of your pitches, especially your breaking pitches. If you don't finish it completely, the ball just tends to just roll up there. And there's a lot of speculation, most of it anecdotal, about, you know, why pitchers don't last a long time here. And that's always been my theory, is that you have to work so hard during every one of your starts here that it just wears you down. If you've got a nice little sinking fastball or a changeup that you can throw at sea level in Cincinnati in July where there's nice humidity, that ball comes out of your hand, you can throw it at about an 85 to 90% effort, the ball drop at home plate, you get a ground ball. That doesn't happen here.
That's ball 4 to Barnhart, so he draws the first walk of the game by Jeff Hoffman. He'll be aboard with 2 out for Luis Castillo. I guess going back to what you're talking about, Chris, pitchers here in Denver, you rarely, if ever, see a free agent pitcher sign here. That's why it was a little surprising when Greg Holland signed here, and then what he has done has been unbelievable.
Well, he's come back and reclaimed himself as one of the top closers around, but I think for a reliever it's a little different than a starter.
Toward right field, and Gonzalez will make the play. Castillo retired. Reds leave a runner in the second.
It's a style of hitting that I never do, and I've played every game thus far this season, and I'm concerned about 2 things. I'm concerned about potentially getting injured, and I'm concerned about not being able to do my very best if I can sense an injury. And it's a challenging event. It's something that I'd rather save for the field and during the game. So.
Joey Votto talking about turning down the invitation to participate in the Home Run Derby at the All-Star game, and he can look no further to his teammate Adam Duvall, who participated last year and never came out and said that it had an effect on him. His numbers were down in the second half, but this week kind of opened up about it. He said that after the Home Run Derby, the next day and for the next few days, he could barely even shake someone's hand because he could barely move his arms because his forearms were so tired. Now, don't misconstrue what I'm saying. He was not making an excuse for his second half last year. I'm just talking about the physical effects that the Home Run Derby had on him. He was totally spent afterwards. And Joey Votto maybe have asked him and doesn't want to participate in it. So, especially now, gentlemen, with the event being a timed event where the rounds are timed, man, you are really getting after it, and it really takes it out of you.
Hey, I don't blame him whatsoever.
I don't know what it's like to play every day. It's got to be very difficult, and to play at the level that Votto does especially.
That's going to be extra bases off the bat of Raimel Tapia into the right field corner. He's going to get 3 as Kiblahan gets that ball back in, but Tapia has himself a 3-base hit. The Rockies have the tying run 90 feet away to get the bottom of the second started.
Now the ball goes right inside the first base bag and right down the line. Now the stands jut out a little bit, and this is where Patrick Kiblahan gets a little schooling about Coors Field. He's playing like it's going to hit off that little outcropping of seats there, but it doesn't. It slips right inside the line, stays there, and that's why Tapia was able to get all the way into third. He runs well, and they get it going here in the bottom half of the lineup.
His second triple puts him at third base with nobody out. Now Trevor Story, the shortstop. Interesting to hear Jim talk about what Duvall went through. It's amazing because here's a guy that takes batting practice every day, plays every day, and yet, as he said, he could barely shake a guy's hand. His arms were so sore.
I think Major League Baseball's in a tough spot right there because the way they have the format of that Home Run Derby, it's very exciting right now. No more exciting than it was in Cincinnati when Todd Frazier went right down to the wire and won for all the home folks. But I mean, I don't know how many swings he had to take that night just to get to the finals and then win that Derby. So, you know, if you're an everyday player that is playing every game, every inning of every game, which is basically what Votto does, you're asking yourself an awful lot. So, you know, Major League Baseball could say, well, let's change the format and make it more adaptable to players who, you know, don't want to wear themselves out, but at the same time, do you take some of the sizzle away from the home run contest? It's a tough thing to answer, but I can see where Votto's coming from all the way.
Do you have a potential format in mind?
Negative. No, I mean, it would basically be shortening it up, and it wouldn't be as exciting, obviously, and it's become a big deal on the day before the All-Star game.
Yeah, I think the timed event that you talked about has really made it much more exciting than it used to be, the outs event.
I think the other part that Votto, he first said, and I think this is where it comes to rest. That's a big strikeout right there. Is that type of swing that he has just to hit home runs is something that simply does not compute with him. He has spent his whole professional life
trying to get away from the wild, hit it as far as you can swing. And so why revert into something that you don't want to do, just for the fact of a home run derby, which in the long run doesn't mean anything. I mean, his commitment and his obligation is to the Cincinnati Reds and winning ball games, not home run derbies.
Here's the catcher now, Tony Walters. Left-handed batter. Reds have the infield in. Walters at 293 with 13 runs batted in. He's a youngster. Walters, he's only 25, and he has a KG veteran in Ryan Hannigan teaching him the ropes.
Well, he does, and Walters is really learning the ropes behind the plate because he was a middle infielder coming up. He never caught in high school, never caught in college. Was changed over from middle infielder to a catcher by Terry Francona, manager of the Indians.
Towards shallow left, Duvall will dive and make the catch, and the runner has to go back. Boy, what an effort by Adam Duvall in left field to make the catch and save a run.
Well, no man's land is where the runner got in that, because at first he thought the ball was going to fall in, and then he thought it was going to get caught, and then again he thought it was going to fall in. And Duvall comes in to make a diving catch right here. You don't know how this is going to play out in the ball game, but boy, that is some kind of an effort. Meanwhile, Raimel Tapia at third base was about 6 feet away from the bag when Duvall dove to make that catch. Had he gone back to tag up, he would have been able to go. He gets right there in no man's land. And by the time he goes back, it's too late.
So what do? They ask the pitcher Hoffman to get it done, and he does just that with a base hit into right. And now he's going to turn it into a double. Giblahan with the big infield, the big outfield, stayed back on that ball. That ends up being a two-base hit for Hoffman and his first career RBI.
Well, I'll tell you what, he runs aggressively too, doesn't he? He's a good athlete. You said he was about 6'5". Former basketball player, can run a little bit. Slips on the bag, but he's still safe at second base.
So we're 1-1 here in the bottom of the second. Back to the top of the order now, and Charlie Blackmon. Hoffman had been 1 for 17 as a hitter this year coming into this game. Was ahead 3-0 on the count his first time. Eventually struck out against Castillo. I know, Chris, you didn't pitch in this ballpark, but you pitched in Mile High, did you not?
I did. Yeah, the Reds had a minor league team here in 1986, the Denver Zephyrs. On that team were the likes of Chris Sabo, Barry Larkin, Paul O'Neill, and a number of others. And that was a tough ballpark to pitch in because it was very short down the lines, very deep in center field. But you get the feeling of what it's like to pitch here in Denver. And you have two problems. Number one, the air is thin and dry, and the ball doesn't spin much. The other problem is that how do you get a good grip on a baseball? Because the perspiration or sweat that you have immediately dries up, and it's hard to get a good grip. So basically what I did between innings was pour cups of water on my uniform. And that way when I would wipe my uniform, I at least have a little moisture, to work with. You could rub a baseball and get a little bit better feel.
That wasn't considered illegal?
I don't know. I didn't. I was always going to ask forgiveness instead of permission.
Good location there by Castillo, and he gets to even against Blackmon at 2-2. Rockies left 2 on in the first, have scored the tying run here in the second.
Well, what a crowd tonight. Tonight's ball game will be sold out. Tomorrow's will be sold out. They should have good crowds for both the Wednesday night game and the Thursday day game. I would say baseball's back here in Colorado. There was for a while there, you know, as the team was struggling. They were losing a lot of games every year. They were trying to find the right mix of manager, general manager, and players. They're elated with the way they played here in the first half.
Swing and a miss, and for the second time, Castillo is able to strike out Charlie Blackmon. Rockies settle for 1.